Good morning. Not legal advice. Please like, subscribe, share, and all those things. Please pass this on, pass the information. So today, my uh, brief discussion will be on Foia, so the Freedom of Information Act. And obviously, we have seen that it can be a very powerful tool, even if the government does not timely respond to things. And it's an alternative way of getting discovery. So we all know that all the hedge funds, brokerages, etc., resist discovery because they know at times it might implicate them. We have current evidence of that in that March 30th Foia release that seemed to place a lot of blame on the SEC and Finra amongst other people. So unfortunately, a lot of people send out Foia requests and they're not complied with and not followed up. Perhaps the questions aren't specific enough. Perhaps there's no follow up. Perhaps the person who's preparing the response is not competent or is intentionally concealing documents. But in the long haul, since that is an avenue of discovery for us all, I believe that it should be used as a tool for retail traders to put the pressure on both the SEC and Finra. So, even though I'm not suggesting that you use the list I have prepared, because you should prepare your own list, but just for the ease of myself, not recommending anything, what I'm going to do is start preparing Foia requests for all the securities that I hold. And I'm going to send them, and I'm going to wait for the response. And if the response is not completely responsive, I will appeal. And if the appeal is not effective, I will file a lawsuit, a Foia lawsuit, to get the appropriate records. And if enough of us out there do the same, it'll take time, but if enough of us out there do the same, we will uncover a lot of information that otherwise would not be available. And when I'm referring to us, I'm referring to all retail trade shareholders. I'm not just referring to MMTLP, although that's what formed the basis of this kind of presentation today. But it should be for all shareholders who think they've been screwed. AMC, GME, GNUS, any and all MMAT, any stock security that you think's been improperly handled over the last few years, I think it makes sense to do a Foia request. And now that we have the release of the information in the Foia request, and specifically at November at 2021, email indicates there's an ongoing investigation which nobody told us about at that time in 2021 related to the original issuers, which we believe to be Ari Rubenstein and Canaccord, apparently. Um, but that's when all this began. So, to me, that gave us a possible ability and a inside to be able to now request documents as to all securities during that time period, because now if we believe and have seen evidence that they won't either publicly announce or disclose the existence of an investigation upon which investors rely upon and act, then we have to presume that they're suppressing other such information. So, and I think you can certainly use that November 2021 email to make that case. And in another video, possibly, I have the break the system email related to the same. But I'm kind of waiting to get feedback before I go that direction. But let's go back to the Foia. So you can go online and you can prepare a Foia request. I think they're electronic. Um, you have to specify the specific documents. And again, I'm not telling anybody what documents to request, how to do it, etc. But kind of this morning I prepared just a brief list of documents I'm requesting, and I'm happy to forward that to anybody else so they could put it in the nest. And I'm just going to briefly go down it so you kind of understand how I structured it. Feel free to add, subtract, do whatever you want. But notice kind of the format and try to keep it very specific. You'll see how that makes sense. It'll be harder for the FOIA request to be ignored, and if you pursue the receipt of those documents, and again, this might be a long process, but ultimately we need to expose the entire record. And if this is the means by which we have, let's do it. So in my FOIA request, at least in this one, I have 16 categories of documents. Again, this will be available. Use as you want, modify, add, subtract, etc. But I kind of wanted to give you just an idea of what I'm asking for, and so it'll give you a kind of a clue. So I'm just going to go down the list. Any and all records and all info related to trading of X, because I don't know which security it will be involving, but whatever it is, if it was Tesla, it would be X would be Tesla. From January 1, 2021 to the current time. And the reason why I used that time period was that the email in 2021, I think, creates at least an argument that all of 2021 should be examined for documents because we have one in 2021. So I've asked for documents from January 1, 2021 to the current time and ongoing. Second category, any and all records and all info related to shorting of X from the same time period. 3, any and all records and all info any investigations of X from January 1, 2021 to the current time conducted by Finra. 4, any and all records and all info the investigations of X from January 2021 to the current time conducted by the SEC. So there's a whole series of those kind of requests, 16 of them. You could make more. They also include requests related to Gary Gensler, requests related to the specific people indicated in the FOIA response. So kind of what I do is I also would take the response, and since I saw names like Richard Boyle, Jay Gibbon, Patricia Casamates, and Sam Draddy, I have specific requests directed to them also. And I have specific requests directed at the SEC, FINRA in general. So I really think this would be an important tool for us to use starting today to put additional pressure on all these agencies and to follow up so that over time we'll be able to expose everything that we don't know, like what we just received in on Saturday. We never would have known that but for that disclosure. And I guarantee you, I don't guarantee much, but I guarantee you there will be a lot of information that has been suppressed that through this process, instead of the discovery process, which also might be combined, but independent of that, that we may be able to ascertain the true record relating to multiple securities and misconduct perpetrated by both FINRA and the SEC under the tutelage of their leadership. So again, what I'm doing will be passed on, so it'll eventually be in the nest. And if you end up doing FOIA requests, as I kind of talked about, feel free to use mine as for research purposes, for content, to add to yours, etc. But I've kind of put it out here so you kind of understand how I would do it in terms of format. Anyway, best of luck. Keep up the pressure, and we're one day closer to the end. Be well, everybody.